The Bible says that faith is crazy to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like when I think about it, I it makes sense to believe in something or someone that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Unless until you get to a point where you surrender and then you start seeing that God really does exist.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going through trouble, you almost want something that you can touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to be sure that I'm going here, I'm seeing this thing, or I'm seeing this person, and I'm hearing from this person out loud.
So there's this lady who, she's Pakistan. Is it Pakistani?
Pakistani, I think.
Pakistani famous,
Mm.
but she's American. She's from New York. So here's the thing that's happening right now. So she catfished a 19-year-old boy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They met online. He abandoned her when
Mm-hmm.
she got to Pakistan because I think he didn't know how she looked because he got catfished.
He's 19. This
Yeah.
lady's 33.
But she was in for the kill, right? She was in love, and in her world, they are married,
That
and
is so crazy.
she wants
Okay,
her
so
man's.
you show someone that you like a
Mm-hmm.
picture that's not you, and you expect them to what? Like you still? That's weird. Okay. Anyway.
Surprise, surprise. So, she is trending on social media right now. She went to Pakistan. I'm gonna show you. Yeah, this one is a good one. She went to Pakistan, and now she's making executive order. She says she is going to change the country. It's like she's running for president, but she's not. She's going to
Oh,
change
okay.
the
She probably have
country.
mental issues.
Her son said that. They're trying to
Oh,
get her
okay.
back to the US, but she said, I'm not going
Okay.
until I get my mans.
Okay.
She is making orders. She said, you're going to pay me 200K a week,
Who?
the governor. She is going to change the roads in Pakistan. She's going to, make the housing better because it's terrible out here.
Oh man, I feel for her
And,
and
oh,
her family.
no, watch. Watch. Ready?
This American woman refuses to leave Pakistan after a failed marriage to a 19-year-old she met online.
And he
Please,
talked too much.
33.
That's it.
Yes, that's it. Yes, yes, I'm saying. ये भी देखे यही मेरी बात की तारीफ कर रही है.
Listen,
हाँ.
you
Yes.
talk too much. I'm Muslim and it's against my religion to tell y'all my business.
My dear American
Listen,
sister.
I'm from Pakistan. Respect to the law.
Okay.
Respect for the law.
Okay.
Respect to Allah. And
Okay.
respect to God. Do you hear me? Like I said, Pakistan needs to be reconstructed the right way. Do you hear me, guys? Make sure y'all get this on your camera. I'm married to Nidel Hamid. I'm Onaija Hamid. We are moving to Dubai very soon. We're going to have our baby in Dubai.
This American woman refuses to leave
It's just like one
after a
sniff.
failed marriage.
It's hilarious. Like, if you watch the whole thing, it's hilarious.
I can't laugh at this. Like I'm concerned.
The comment section, someone was like, someone create a GoFundMe so we can bring her back.
But she doesn't want to leave.
She doesn't want to leave,
Oh.
which is beautiful because
How is that beautiful?
it ties into today's conversation, which
Oh,
is
God.
dealing with an uncertain future.
Now who's dealing with an uncertain future because she got her future on lock. She knows what she wants.
And now she's uncertain because
No, she's
stuck.
not.
She's
She knows
stuck.
what she wants to do. She told them to pay her money because she's gonna fix Pakistan or whatever. She's what? She got her life figured out.
But
What?
her husband is nowhere to be found. So it's uncertain. Like, are you gonna get married or not? Because he dipped. He saw her. He dipped.
And she's not 33 years old. She
She-
doesn't look 33 years old.
Oh no. Honestly, when it comes to dealing with an uncertain future,
Mm-hmm.
there was a time where I think I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with my life. It's not like the lady who bought a plane ticket hoping that she would be married and have her babies.
Mm.
Me, I just did not know what to do with my life.
Mm.
That's it.
When was that? I just didn't know what to do with my
I
life.
didn't know.
At least she got that part figured out. She bought herself a plane ticket. Listen, she's going and making moves. What are you gonna do?
She knew. But me, I think it was in high school. Like after I graduated high school, obviously you know the story
Mm.
because you cry every time you hear it.
I know. Why is that? It's so
It's-
crazy. I'm really crying. I'm a mess when it happens. Okay.
It's a really powerful one because it does, I think it also made me who I am today. But besides that, like I think for me was after I graduated high school, well, after high school,
Mm.
because the story of it, for those of you who don't know, was I didn't get the chance to walk the stage like everybody else did. So for me, the future that I had for myself kind of flipped. I didn't fail any classes, but the OGT, if you live in Ohio, you have to go through the OGT process. Now they no longer do it, but I went through the OGT stage where I didn't pass my science, and yeah, it led me to not walk the stage like everybody else. And I think for me, my future was set. Like I had this idea of going to college and majoring in biology.
Mm.
And after that, I graduate. I find me a nice, tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh,
Get married.
I don't think you like the dark skinned man.
Now I do.
You do.
No,
So you have a type.
not anymore. We matured.
Okay. Okay.
Whatever the Lord
You
brings.
stay have a type. Okay.
But yeah, that was my goal. My goal was, I had it from A through Z.
Mm.
And then once I got out of high school and once I went through the phase that I went through, that was when I started to like worry about life, where it was like, what is life for me?
It is
Yeah.
such a blow when you plan your life and things don't happen the way that you thought they would,
Mm.
which is really funny to look back at, because when you're younger, you don't worry about anything.
You
Like
don't.
when I was living at my parents' house, all I worried about was I didn't even worry. I didn't worry about anything. I woke up in the morning, I went to school, came back home, ate my food, went to sleep. They would get on my nerves whenever they picked me up from school too late because I grew up in Kinshasa, so
Mm.
they would have to send a driver to bring me back home.
Yeah.
And whenever that driver showed up late, I'd be pissed. But those were my worries, right? And then I looked forward to growing up.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't wait when I turn 18. Okay, because I was like, yeah, I'm out of this house. I'm gonna be responsible. I'm gonna have my own money. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But I mean, not really, because at 18, I was still. I mean, I'm from Kinshasa, so it's not like you're gonna get a job somewhere and you're gonna start working once you hit like 16.
Mm.
It wasn't the same reality. But I was looking forward to turning 18 because I'll be an adult and I'll probably have some more responsibilities and I would travel overseas and I'll probably leave all by myself. I won't have to deal with these people no more. And it was and then it happened. Okay. Sure enough, I turned 18 and then maybe a year later I came to the US. So just like you, after high school, life took a different turn. And but for me it was more like, yeah, I knew I will go to college. Well, I came to college in the US. I went to college in the US. I came to the US to go to college. And there I just had no idea what I would major in. At the,
See, you had no idea what to major in. I had an idea what to major in. I think for me was just like that the phase of I had it all planned out
Mhm,
and it didn't work out.
mhm.
Now, how is my life after this? Like,
Because you didn't graduate high
yeah, I
school.
didn't graduate high school. So for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure.
Mm, mm,
I'm going to just go and get, you know, a factory job. Not to
mm.
say those who do that, I'm just saying, but like,
It wasn't part of your
yeah,
plan.
it
It's like
wasn't part of
it's
my
not how you
plan.
saw your life turning
Yeah,
out to
I
be.
was just at a place where I was like, will life get any better? Do I just throw in the towel
Mm-hmm.
and just say, well, I tried?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I be resilient
Right.
and go after, my life and make sure that I get what I wanted to get out of it?
Just that you really get two choices once you hit the wall. Yeah, you've hit
Man.
a wall, and now you either surrender to it and accept that you'll never move forward,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to keep grinding and finding. You have to keep grinding to find a path forward,
Yeah.
and you chose the latter.
Yeah. For me, it was kind of like an eye opener, and also it brought a lot of anxiety because it's like after college, well, no, after high
Let's go.
school, that's when the adulthood start.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people like you leave your parents' house, you start an adulthood life,
Mm-hmm.
living by yourself, figuring things out, right? Me, I wanted that for myself. I was planning that. Like, yo, when I tell you my college life was supposed to be lit, but the Lord had other plans.
God was like, it's too lit. It's too lit for me.
It was so
It's
lit.
so much
Like,
lit.
it was
You need
so
to see here. Think about your
it
life.
was so lit to the point where the day that I was told that I did not pass my last chance of the OGT, let me just go back a little bit for those of you who don't live in Ohio. OGT is a standardized test. The state standardized test. You have to pass 5 of them. Math, reading, English, writing, and science.
Mm.
Yes. I passed 4 out of 5. And science was like the one that I was struggling with. And I wasn't like struggling with to a point where like it was like 20 points, 50 points. It was like 2 to 3 points, sometimes 7 points.
Just like
And
the
yeah,
3 or 2 points that you need to
yeah,
pass.
to need to pass. And you have to have a 400 to pass. And I was always like around like the 90s, 390s or something.
Oh, no.
So yeah, so the last one because you're given as many as you can until your senior year, which is before graduation. So you have it like the beginning, which is I think it's like February,
Mm.
and then you have one in May, and then you have one in October, and then you wait for the results. For those of you who graduate high school, your senior year, you wait for the results. I think in December.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm thinking college. You wait for the results like around May because
Okay.
you graduate in May here in college, high school. So like yeah, my last result was when I got accepted, which is kind of funny because I thought I passed it that summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got accepted to a university. This was like after my scholarship was taken. So I decided to apply.
Let's go back. What?
Yeah, so like the scholarship that I got was a basketball scholarship. This was
Okay, so
like
you were supposed to. Why did it fall through?
because I wasn't getting the results fast enough to start the season,
Okay,
right?
okay,
They
okay.
needed to know, they needed my high school diploma, and I wasn't
So
able
you
to
passed the
provide
deadline.
that.
Okay.
Yes, I was able to provide that. So we're like, okay, we're not going to worry about that. We need to move on. So that got taken, but like I got accepted to a university, Ohio Christian University. It's like a couple hours from here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting because I was like, well, I got accepted to this university. So that means I passed the OGT.
Right.
So how I planned my college year
Mm.
was I had heels for parties. I had clothes.
Hey.
So when I tell you the Lord knew what he was doing,
You had all the
I
things.
had all the things planned out because one,
You're like, I'm going to party.
it wasn't just that, it was I was gonna be outside. Forget the party. I wanted to be outside.
To party.
With that too. It's just
Respectfully.
what? So like it was like one of those where it was like, one, I grew up, how we grew up, that like our parents, it was church home. For me, it was church home sports. I was given a little bit of the freeway to like go to movies and hang out with friends, but the party life wasn't really all the way there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching on TV how college is.
Mm.
And you know how America, we showcase college. It's like,
Mm.
oh, this is gonna be fun. I had my plan. I was like, okay. Mind you, the university that accepted me was a Christian school. They had
Mm.
curfew. The curfew was
Oh, okay.
9 o'clock.
You're gonna break that. I'm sure the kids don't even.
Yes, they do.
They don't
They do.
respect that.
They do. They say Christian schools are like the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the rap. I mean, that's the rap.
It is the worst. So like the curfew is 9 o'clock, but even with the curfew, I just wanted that freedom because I never had that freedom
Yeah.
of
Making
being
your own
without parents.
decisions,
Yeah,
doing your
being
things.
18
Yeah.
and up, like I never had that freedom. So my plan for college, my future was, of course, I was there for school, but I also wanted to enjoy that freedom that everybody talks about
Mm.
without parents. You come in as whenever time you want it. You can go out, enjoy yourself. Yeah, that changed. So the funny thing about this, I don't think I've ever talked about this in my testimony, which is really interesting. But like the funny thing about that was the day that I found out that I did not graduate,
Mm.
we were moving my stuff to my dorm. Like we packed
Oh
everything, and mom, I remember I was packing stuff in my suitcase. She was like, "Open it what?" Because you wearing all these heels
no.
for what? She's like, you know how they are, like
You're
school.
going to school.
You
What
need
are
sneakers. Why you wearing
you?
heels?
Right.
And my mom like, I'm just, ditty, whatever. So we're packing my fridge in the car. We've got everything ready to go. I get a phone call. The first call, I ignored it because I was like, it's a number that I don't know. The second call, the university name popped up. So I was like, okay, this is weird. So I picked up the call, and the lady administration office is like, "Hi, Afi. Um, we're just wondering. I know it's moving day, but we haven't got your high school diploma yet." I was like, "What do you mean? I got accepted. I toured the campus. You gave me my roommate, and now you're telling me this for what?" Well, we need your high school diploma, and we can't move forward because we need to know that you are done. So if you have it, if you can send it over. Like what?
It's like I've heard this story before, but every time I hear it, it just breaks my heart. Oh my god.
So I was like, okay, I'll call you back. And yeah, so I hung up. I called the school and I was like, I haven't got my results yet and I wanted to know my results. I don't exactly remember how this came about. I want to say that they told me or I got a letter. I don't remember. Too many emotions.
There was a lot
Um,
going
a
on.
lot. But I think I got the letter a few weeks. I don't exactly remember, but come to find out, I did not pass. So that same morning, because dad told his job that he was going to be a couple hours late because he had to move me inside the dorm, and mom was at work. So I called her and I was crying on the phone. I was like, I already knew I did not pass because it was kind of like, you need my high school diploma. Usually that thing
It's right
goes
there, yeah.
right, it goes automatically, or at
Mm.
least they know that. So I was like, what the heck? So yeah, we moved things outside the car. And I think that following day, like a couple of days, that following hour, so maybe in the afternoon, I found out I did not pass. But yeah, so my life right there is shattered because I had this idea of going to college, having fun, and graduating within the 4 years.
Mhm.
And then from there, things add on from that. So once I got there, I started to think about like life. I was like, okay, it's fine, but luckily for me, community college still allows you to go and take like beginner college classes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But the thing is, you have to pay out of pocket because you
Yeah,
need, in
okay.
order for you to have financial aid, you need to show that you graduate high
Good.
school. So they had to help me pay out of pocket. I'm saying help, like I had money. I didn't
Cool.
have money. Mom and dad had to
Oh,
pay
okay.
for like one class.
Mm.
So I was taking one class per semester.
Okay.
And I was shocked on how much one class cost. I was
Man,
like,
let me tell
bro,
you. And I was an
what?
international student. That's crazy.
Yeah, I never knew because that's something that if you some of us we don't have to worry about looking at the
Is it like
numbers.
$3,000 a
Yeah,
class or something like that? It's crazy. It's
yeah. But
really
the good thing
high.
is we were able to get on a payment plan because it was like that class started that Monday.
Mm.
So a good thing is I was late to register, but I wasn't late for the class
Okay, that's
before like
okay.
all that deadline was due. So that next morning, we went to St. Clair Community College. Shout out to them. And I signed up for I think it was like the begin. I don't know. Over there, they call it like DV class, development something.
Like
Signed up for
foundational
yeah.
stuff.
I signed up for my English. I took a placement test, and it told me. Funny thing, it told me like I didn't have to take like those like low classes, so I was able to take like the English, the reading, the history thing that I needed to
So
take.
you're smart, not smart enough for them
My-
standard.
I'm telling you, the curse. So I was like, okay. So I took one class, but I still felt like something was missing. Like I tried to hide the fact that I was going through all those problems. So like
High from her.
the reality that
Okay.
I'm not a high school graduate. So I was hiding behind I'm still going to college.
Right, right.
So every morning I would wake up for that one class and I would get dressed as if I am in college. Technically I was, but I wasn't.
Not really.
Not really.
You're in a figurative
Yeah.
college type situation.
Yeah. So I would go, get dressed, do my makeup, wear my clothes, look presentable, and then go to school. And I think reality hit after I ran out of all those classes because now you got to take actual college classes.
Right. The
Yeah,
major.
the major classes. So yeah, that's when I was like, bro, like, what is life? Where am I going with life?
Interesting you say that you were hiding behind everything else. Because once you hit that wall again, that once you hit the wall, you either have to surrender or just be like, yeah, this is just it, or you have to move forward and find a path to move forward. And the first step is to realize that there is a wall.
I didn't want to surrender.
Right.
I was playing delusional.
Right.
I was delusional about
Yeah.
my whole situation.
I guess there's that third thing that you could do. Be
Yeah.
delusional and just
Yeah.
think
I was
it's
literally
gonna disappear one day.
I was living the definition of manifestation, living as if you're not there yet. But at some point, you gotta come to reality and say, "I need to work to get there."
And I think that manifestation thing gets a bad rap. And I don't personally don't like using the word manifestation as much just because of where it comes from, really, like the origins. But that being said, the word it's the process of manifesting gets a bad rap because a lot of people think that you can just wake up in the morning and say some things and it's gonna happen. It's like, yeah, you and many of the videos that I've watched of people who have talked about manifesting their lives, there's always like a work component to it, right? There's something that you need to do to get that life to manifest. You can't just see here and be like, oh, and then it comes. That's not really how manifestation works.
And you
anyway.
also have to like live in your reality too. Like you have to sit down and say what is working and what is not working. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sit and like put it in my head that you haven't graduated high school.
Because it's hard.
Yeah, I didn't want
It's
to
hard.
do that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sit down and because for me it was kind of like not only that I felt in life, but I embarrassed the people that I love the most. Because mom and dad was ready for a graduation.
And did y'all have a party though?
I had a party. And I was against that party because I felt like I didn't deserve it. But for them, they saw it as an accomplishment. Like you graduate, but you didn't, get it the way you wanted, but you finished the classes. I finished the classes.
Anyway, there's something to be said about the standardized tests. They're crazy. They're terrible. And sometimes it's not. Now, correct me, you guys, if I'm wrong, but standardized tests, they're weird. I feel like you have to be a good test taker. Like,
yeah, it's
some
a
people are
skill.
just good at taking tests.
Yeah.
And if you're not good at taking tests, it is really hard to pass.
Even in college, like
or can be.
some people be done in like a minute or so.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, some of us takes us like an hour and
It's
so.
like,
I'm
my
still on
chair
number
done
5.
turned hot. I'm still here trying to figure it out. Oh gosh.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But it was interesting because under that uncertainty,
Mm.
it was just like I had to figure things out.
Mm.
So I started going, and then I got done with those basic classes, and now reality is starting to hit me. But I still didn't want to surrender to a point where I was like,
Surrender to God.
yeah, I didn't want to surrender to,
Or
'cause
like
I
go,
felt like
or like go to God with that issue or that
I-
difficulty. Is that what
I would say I was still going to God with that issue, but there was still like, I wouldn't say ignorance. I would say the unknown on how to go about the situation.
how to go to God about the situation?
Yeah, like I was just praying, like, God, I'm going through this, but I wasn't like in the ministry. They say go in depth, go deep, try to figure out why
Seek for the
isn't
Lord.
it working,
Mhm,
right? I was also kind of just leaning towards, oh, pray for me moments. And in the culture that we live in is all about pray for me. And you're not really seeking the problem yourself in
Right.
your prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was like mom and dad are praying for me. We're praying, but me, the person of the problem, I'm not canceling distraction to seek the Lord myself.
There's something to be said. I like saying that. There's something to be said. There's something to be said about as you're going through the difficult time, right? As all your life plans have completely been destroyed because there's this one thing that you just can't get through. It's hard, first of all, to accept that. I feel it takes time to get to a point where you stop kind of being delusional, or you go through all the stages of grief, right? You go through what is it unbelief. It's like it's not happening, it's not really happening, and then you get delusional. It's like, well, I can always do something else. I don't have to follow through with those plans. And then there's, oh my God, my life's never gonna get better. And then there's finally that place of, okay, God, I think you're the only one.
It was kind of like
can
the
help.
story. It's kind of like the story of Jonah, though. Like Jonah was like, I'm not going there. And then it took him to be swallowed by a fish to be like, I don't like it here. I'll do exactly what you want me to do. Like that's how I felt. Like that's not like the best.
Yeah, I'm
similarity,
so
but it's
confused. I'm like, what are you trying to say?
Like, let's say, okay, this everyone knows the story of Jonah, right? Jonah tried to hide from God,
Right.
which we all know.
So are you
can't
saying
hide from
you
God.
were hiding from God?
Not necessarily hiding from God, but I was hiding from my problems, right? But his was God. His problem was to go to Nineveh and tell them,
Okay.
yeah, his was God, but mine was my problem. So it didn't take until I got to the point where I was like squished in a corner, where it was like you either have A, which is try to figure out why you're not passing this and get the answer and make it work, or you have B, which is going to a regular job where you break your back every day and that's your reality. And A for me was, when I look at the history of my family, I'm like, I didn't come here to suffer. That's just me. Like, I didn't come to America to suffer. This is not my reality, is to suffer. Right. I'm not about to, live this lifestyle of, now I have to raise my kids to be better than me. Like when I say better than me, I mean get them to school, because I didn't get a chance to live that reality. I didn't want that. So that was A. B could have been, okay, I didn't graduate high school. This is not working for me.
And you tried.
Yeah. So
Tried being a model.
So I was like, I'm going to figure things out. But before modeling though.
Hey, yeah.
Before modeling, I had a lot. Okay, so I was like, I need to figure it out. So one was like, live the American dream, which I'm gonna say this: the American dream for someone who everyone has a definition of American dream in their own perspective, right? For me, the American dream, what I've been always taught and what I've seen around me, is without education, at least back then, without education, there is no dream because people value you with a bachelor. Like you can't have conversation with people that are educated. You don't have education.
Yeah, I forgot that sounds a time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, who are you?
Yeah. So
What have you
that,
done in school?
yeah. So
Huh?
that was one of them. So I was like, okay, how can I get people to respect me? Okay, so that's when I started. If I can't get my school degree, I'm gonna find ways. So I started doing like personal styling. I think I wanted to do cosmetology because I was like, okay, I might end up being a CEO of like a salon or something. I'm not gonna be the stylist. I'm gonna hire people to do the styling, and I'm gonna just be the name. So I was like, okay, I applied to cosmetology. These mother suckers talking about some mother
Respect
suckers,
yourself.
mother suckers talking about some. We need a high school diploma or we need financial aid if you want to be a part of the
Well,
cosmetology.
they're not the suckers. You're the sucker.
Well, back then
You
I didn't want to
can't give
accept
it.
I didn't want to accept reality back then, you know.
So,
So I was like, dang. I started hating outside the club. I couldn't even get in. But it was like one of those moments where I was like, whoa. To live an American dream, you have to have a diploma, high school. I was like, okay, cool. That's cool. They can keep that.
what?
I could do by myself.
I can do it all by myself. Wait, so in Ohio, even if you go through the GED route, you still have to go. You
But it
still have to
gets-
pass that.
Yeah, it gets better. It gets better. I even tried the GED route. That's the thing, because I was being informed that, you know, if you can't get your OGT, you know, go the GED route. And I was like, okay. So I started taking GED classes. But for me, the thing that brought me back to this is not for me was I respect those who go the GED route. This is not to say, you know, whatever. But for me, it was like I spent 4 years in high school. It wasn't that I was you know, out here neglecting schoolwork. It wasn't here that I wasn't I was active in school. So when I would go to those classes, I hear people's reality. I'm like, that's not my reality. And then on top of that, GD is a lot harder.
Oh, really?
It's a lot harder because you're learning from A. Like you have to like dig deep into those books.
Okay.
OGT is just overview of like what you
You've
learned within those
overall.
subjects.
Okay.
So the GED route, it was tough. I was like, absolutely not. Like,
Oh, wow.
but it was hard. I was like, no, this is not my reality. I'm just gonna go and study and take my OGT and see where it goes.
So you get to a place where you're not moving forward and you cannot explain why.
Yeah,
I can't
couldn't
move forward.
I couldn't explain why.
It's not like you're not smart. It's not like
it was
it's like you got it all on lock.
And the thing is, every time I went to those classes, I was always told, you don't look like you belong here. So it was like people just knew, like what are you doing here? Like you don't look like you belong here. So I had to tell a little bit of my story for people to understand. And it was like, you're right, I don't belong here. But back then it was like, okay, GD, I've tried. Let's take the entrepreneur route.
I'm laughing because usually some people say when someone says, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," it's like they just don't have a job. Just like if you don't have a job, just say that. Don't be saying you're an entrepreneur. Okay.
But I tried. I took the entrepreneur job. I was like, you know what? It didn't work out. Cosmetology didn't work out. They wanted my FAFSA and like all that. It didn't work out. Let me go ahead and do modeling. It was kind of like broadcasting and then like television, prints, and like personal styling and stuff like that all in one.
Mm.
But the thing was, if you wanted to be a model, you had to be like 5'8". I'm 5'3".
Mm-mm. Mm.
That was like that itself. I was already out the
Oh
box.
Lord Jesus! So yo, when you're watching people on TV and you saw the heights, you thought you can compete.
I had
You
faith,
think you were
man.
gonna jump up and down? Like
I had
what?
faith.
Oh Lord!
I had faith.
Lord,
But my personality stood out with like commercials and like TV. So I was like, okay, I got something going
yeah,
on
then
for
you can,
myself.
yeah, you can do that
So I
type
was
of
like,
acting.
cool. But that itself didn't work out because even though I made it through the classes, the people that was getting the job were 5'8"
Mm.
and they were slimmer. So it was like
Mm.
that my career went down the line from there. But it brought me to like personal styling, which was fun. So that went left. So I said, you know
Did you
what?
start YouTube around the same time?
I started YouTube around that time, but I wasn't posting.
Okay.
I wasn't posting like that. So like I started posting at that one house you guys came over after during Dawn's graduation.
Mm.
That's when I started YouTube like fully. When you guys came down
Yeah, I
2015.
remember that because we were making food for
Yeah.
dinner and you didn't come out not one time.
I
The
had a
entire
better
time
life for myself.
you were doing a wig. You were creating you were
I
making
was
a
doing a
wig
wig.
from scratch.
Yep.
We're salty. We're so like ugh, this girl.
Deep down, like I asked y'all to come
Like
at
we
this
don't
time.
like her.
But yeah, it was like one of those things was like I try to figure it out. Like I was trying to figure everything out and it just wasn't working. And then I went from that to I'm gonna go to New York. And
Hey.
that is where life is for where I want to be. I want to be on TV. I can, model
You just got
prints.
the wrong parents for that.
I went downstairs to talk to dad. I try to like persuade him, like,
Mhm.
here in America, when life is
Hey.
not going the way you want it, you chase your dreams.
You're gonna lecture African parents to say here in America when life is not
I
going on the way
tried.
that you want, you're gonna
I
chase
really,
your
I
dreams.
really did.
Okay.
I told him I was like,
I appreciate your courage.
I told him
Oh Lord.
I want to chase my dreams. And he wasn't saying nothing. He was just listening to me. You know how like he does that face. I was like, he's just listening to me. And then at the end of it he said, "You are not leaving this house without a diploma and a bachelor." I was like, man, this man ain't listening correctly. Let me try to like sugar everything. I said, well, it's a good job. I named all the celebrities who don't have a diploma,
The way he
who are
doesn't
out here.
care.
He didn't care.
The way he doesn't care.
He didn't care.
But there's something to be said.
At this point, it's a slogan. There is something to be said.
There's something to be said about running away
Mhm.
from from a challenge, right? So you find yourself facing the wall, this figurative wall we've been talking about,
Mhm.
and your decision to do these other things wasn't because you believed in those things. It wasn't because now you decided that maybe your goals were more aligned with those things. You were trying to run away from the problem.
Yeah, I didn't see it that way before. I was just like, I'm gonna figure it out.
And I think that's why your dad be like, no, you're not leaving this house without a diploma. Oh,
I was ready, man. And then I went upstairs. I was like, these people don't understand. They don't believe in me. Forget this family. Yeah, I was in that moment. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I started thinking about YouTube. And I was like, that was when Instagram started to like get his little fame. I was like, well, I don't really want to post pictures, but we're gonna figure it out.
and then you
Figure it
ended
out.
up posting a lot of pictures of
Yeah.
Peters.
But here's the thing. I was like, well, I'm not making money. I need to make money. I started to apply places. McDonald's needed a diploma. Like, what? I was like, what? I was like, cool, forget McDonald's. I decided to go factory job. Because that's where the money is. So I was like, I went to the factory and I started working factory. Miriam, I only did 3 days. In my head, I'm calculating how much money I made. I'm like, bro, you worked hard. Mind you, I would run during break. And it's amazing how, like, when people say God knows exactly what he's doing,
Mm,
or you just have a destiny,
mm,
like that shine, that light that shines in the middle of everything else. Like,
mm,
what am I trying to say? You're around people, but you have that light on you, and
mm,
it's like you don't belong here.
mm,
I remember one time we're putting things together, right? And I'm the slowest person in that line.
mm.
This lady was looking at me, and then this guy goes, "You're not doing it fast enough. We need to move."
It's like, this is faster for me. If I do any more fast, I'm like, bro.
My back
Mm-mm.
is aching, my feet is hurting, and I'm like,
Oh.
bro, this is fast.
Sweet Affy is the perfect.
Mind you, I don't even know what we're doing. I just like, he's like, "You're slowing us down." And yeah, so I went to the bathroom. I cried. I stayed there. This is my first time. I put toilet paper on the seat and I sat down
Oh,
on the toilet.
it's like, I'm over this.
And then I hear my name being called on the intercom.
Oh my god, because you stayed there too long.
And I drove home that day and I parked my car. And this is like we start going into spiritual warfare,
Mm.
and like a little bit of my awareness starting to come to life. I parked my car and I was like, I cried for a little bit, cried for a little bit. And then that's when I was like, enough is enough.
A lot of people talk about, I need to get my life together, and they have like other resources, right? That they pull from to get that life together. But what made you understand that your getting your life together was going towards God and seeking God, and really seeking his face so that you can get yourself, so that you can get out of this situation?
Just the value, because I was always told that in this family nothing works unless you pray and pray seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside of prayer, life ain't gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else lives the way they live, but there is some type of covenant
Mm-hmm.
that's made with God when we're born.
Mm-hmm.
You're dedicated when you're a kid. So for me, it was kind of like I've been trying to live life outside of the prayer life. Like I can make my life work. Like
Right.
I'm still praying, but I feel like I don't need to pray, 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 pray. Like life can still be discovered,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which reminds me of when I was in middle school. I told God, I said, God, I'm gonna live right when you give me a second life. When I come, yeah,
Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that too. At some point in my life, I was like, I could just live however.
I can live however, but when you make
And
the second earth, I promise
why
I'm
did
gonna
you get
live
the
the
idea
way.
of a second Earth?
I don't
I think,
know.
what, you're gonna come back again? Like, what?
I don't know. Like as a kid, it was just one of those things where it's like I think it's just growing up, going to church, church, church,
Yeah.
being told that you can't do this, you can't do that. It was like, well, everybody else is doing it. So it's like, why can't I do it? So it's like, it was kind of like, forget the family values.
Mm-hmm.
Lord, when you bring me back on this earth again, I promise you, I'm going to live it the way you want me to live it. But right now, let me be disobedient. Let me live however I want to live. And we be cool.
So there was always a voice in your head
Mhm.
telling you that these choices that you're
It's not
making,
smart.
it's not making, so it's not working. So your life, all throughout high school, your focus was, you just want to live your life
Yeah.
however
I just want to
however
live
you
my life
want.
however I want.
That was your focus, and you had all your plans.
Mhm.
You had your life figured out until you got to high school, finished high
Mhm.
school, but you can graduate.
Yeah.
And now you tried all these things, and then you came back to the realization that actually, I need to seek for God. Like,
Yeah, it
I
was.
can't do this by
It was at
myself.
some point where I was thinking deep into going to a psychic. No, I'm just.
But the Bible says that faith is crazy to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, when I think about it, I it makes sense to believe in something or someone that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Unless until you get to a point where you surrender, and then you start seeing that God really does exist.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going through trouble, you almost want something that you can touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to be sure that I'm going here, I'm seeing this thing, or I'm seeing this person, and I'm hearing from this person out loud.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when you tell the story that, oh, I wanted to go to a psychic, and I turn around and look at people, goes, what but it makes sense, right? It makes sense because it's easier, you can touch it.
And you
It's
can
like,
you hear it back, because
exactly, there is that interaction that's
yeah,
happening right there.
yeah.
And even people who grew up in church or Christians but are still like today using crystals and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
it's just because I think, this is my opinion, is because it's much easier to trust in something you touch.
And you have somewhat of a control.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. You,
yeah,
because you have control, you feel like something is happening. Like you're
yeah.
really doing something.
Like I can imagine me going to a psychic and they're like, "This," I'm like, "No, it's not," because I can speak back to you. I have, you don't live my life. Like, what do
Okay.
you mean? Like I can see that.
Okay, no bunso. Okay.
I can see that. Like
She
it's
said,
so
"What do you
true.
mean it's my life?"
What do
Okay.
you mean?
Oh.
But with me, it was. I think the struggle was not hearing God when I wanted to hear Him
Mm,
about my future.
mm,
Because it's like Jeremiah 29. It says He knows the plan that He has for you, right?
mm.
So for me, it was like, well, you say you know the plans that you have for me. I've been seeking you all my life, right?
But
So
wait,
why?
where have you though?
But here's the thing. I was like, I've been seeking you all my life, but why isn't my life the way you want it to be? And that's where the light bulb came on top of my head. It was like, you're seeking me all your life, but is the way you're living in line with my word? So when I went to Georgia, I was gonna say California. Ciao. When I went
That
to
tells you
Georgia,
where your spirit was at that time.
when I went to Georgia, that was when I completely surrendered. And when I say surrender, that summer I was making money. Well, I wasn't making money because that paycheck came back $80. I was so mad. I was so mad. $80. I broke my back for $80.
$80.
And I remember before I went to Georgia, I called in and I said that someone in the family passed because
you, you're gonna go seek the Lord. You're gonna lie over her. Okay. Oh.
but here's the thing. I was in the bathroom. I was like, well,
And who
I'm
did you kill that time?
but
Like,
listen, I was in the bathroom. I was like, well, technically I'm not lying because the old me is dead. But yeah, when I said I surrendered, I had to like completely surrender. I surrendered my summer. I really had to sit back. And I think it was from watching all the ministry, Mama Olangi's preaching.
mm,
And she was like preaching a lot about, your life not matching up to
your
your
expectations.
expectation. And that's why your future is the way your life is the way it is. Because in order for you to have that future that you're praying about, you also have to act according to what the Bible says,
Hmm.
right? So
In order for you to have the future you're praying about, you have to act according
to
to
what
what the
the
Bible
Bible says,
says.
yeah.
You're praying for something,
Mm-hmm.
you're just not surrendering to the
No.
guidelines of
Of
the person you're praying to.
Yep. I was like, okay, let me. After I did what I did, like praying, I cried, I reflected. It made sense to me, so I said, I'm gonna try God out the
Mm,
correct way.
mm,
So I told myself, I said, Lord, I'm going to try you out. It was just that's a terrible way of saying it, but it was
Try you
true.
out. It's
I'm gonna try you
crazy.
out, but if it works, we're gonna keep this going.
I like the try out. Let me try to find this Bible verse. I like the trying
It was
part.
like, if it works, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
keep it going. If not, we can go our separate way. But I'm gonna still believe in you. But it's just,
Mm-hmm.
the way, the religious way of going about things. I don't know. So I literally had to devote myself fully.
There's something to be said. Just drink water every time I say there's something to be said. Drink water because I know
You
some
gotta
of y'all
have
don't be
good
drinking no
skin.
water. Drink water every
Good
time I say there's
skin
something
for
to be said.
sure.
There's something to be said about being a believer and not walking according to the word of God. There
Hmm.
is an author that I absolutely love, John Bevere. He talks about how the within the culture, being a believer has been watered down.
Mm.
Most of us don't know what it really means to be believers, what it really means to be followers of Christ.
Hmm.
And and in our culture, a lot of us are, we're proclaimed Christians. We say we are Christians, but
Hmm.
are we really living according to the word of God? Are we
Yeah.
really living our lives in ways that show that we're Christian?
Reason why I was battling with the uncertainty of my future
Mm-hmm.
was because I try to control something that I cannot control,
I love that.
right?
Mm.
So here I am trying to fix something when I know myself that the creator of all things
Mm.
says this in Jeremiah 29:11.
Mm.
So who am I to try to figure it out myself when he's like right here trying to. Sometimes I wonder what God thinks when he sees us trying to figure things out on our own.
That's why he sent Jesus. He's like, I can't deal with these people. I'm kill. I'm gonna keep killing them. You go because I like you. You go. So every time we do stupid things, he turns around and he looks at Jesus. And it's like, okay, I like you. I love you. I'm not gonna do nothing because I love you. He's like, God, Jesus is like covering us because
And then
we do a lot of bad things.
and then when that rainbow comes out there and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember.
It's like going back to now you've decided that you want to try God for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said that, this verse came back to my mind. Malachi 3:10. It's about giving. It says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that
Mm-hmm.
there may be that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." And
Mm-hmm.
it, I was reminded of the test me part because a lot of people would, struggle with whether they know whether God really can do things for them.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I believe is if you wholeheartedly ask God to show himself, like, I want to try and I want to know if you are real and I want to know if you actually do work. He comes and he shows up and he shows out. Okay, he does it big, so big they
He
can't rig.
make
Okay,
he makes you come back and like he makes you come back like I told you so.
no, really,
I
seriously, and
told you
and
so.
testing God is not beyond what he expects of us.
Mm-hmm.
So test him, test God. Okay, you can keep going.
She said, "Go
Yeah,
ahead,
okay.
preacher.
Yeah,
Test
yeah,
God.
test God.
Test God."
Test God. So your moments of uncertainty just brought you closer to God.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the most important thing for me was hearing other people's story. If that makes sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
Cause I feel like if it was reversed, where when I say reverse, I mean I feel like if I was just going to church, hearing the word,
Mhm.
yeah, it would have did something to me. But hearing the spiritual aspect of other people's testimony,
How they themselves apply that word that's being
yeah,
shared into their own lives.
yeah, and
Okay.
and seeing the results for me was like, that's fascinating. You came from X, Y, and Z, and now you're doing this.
Mm.
And I read that all the time in the Bible, but seeing people live it for me
Mhm.
was like, I want to try this out.
And I feel like for a lot of people who have not had a hard upbringing, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you lived with parents who took care of you. You had everything you needed, and you didn't have to worry about anything. There, there, there comes a time, or the time comes where you are faced with like real life
Oh
challenges,
yeah.
and you have to face them yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like nobody can help you. It's like you get to a point you realize, like when I was younger, I felt I thought my dad was most powerful, almighty. He could just call things into existence. I thought my dad was so powerful. And then you get to a point where when you grow up, you're like, oh, my dad's just another person in the world. Okay, cool. But it really, you really understand that once, at least for me also, when I left the country, I left
Mm-hmm.
my country of origin and came to the US, and I was all by myself here. First of all, like I said before, it was hard for me to figure out what I was going to do in college. I had no idea what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to graduate in. And that made me understand that the like you said, the creator of of the universe knows.
Mm-hmm.
He already planned my path for me. Now all I have to do is follow him. But again, the fact that it's so abstract, when you're talking to your dad, he's right there, you can see him, and then
Mm-hmm.
he responds to you, and you can hear his voice and it's clear. But when you're not used to confiding in God
Mm-hmm.
and waiting for him to give you the answers that you need to move forward, and now you have to get into this journey of understanding God and really hearing from him, having developing a relationship with God and understanding his voice, and differentiating his voice from your own and other people, and being able to discern how he talks to you and all. It can feel like a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so worth it.
It is.
It's so worth it, because once you figure out the way that God speaks to you, for a while there, it's going to be blurry, it's going to be hard, but you keep going back to him. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm having trouble understanding. I'm having trouble understanding. And then he's going to teach you. He's going to teach you. You're going to get to a point where you hear him and you know it's him. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you hear him and you know it's him, and you know his voice, and then he holds your hand, and literally you feel like he's been holding you the entire time, and just he's making you go places, and it doesn't it's not clear as you're walking that path, when you're
Mm-hmm.
walking down that path, but then when you get to the destination, you look back, you're like, I get it, I get why I had to go through all these things.
Yeah. When I really think about it, I think that was the prayer of my eighth grade, where it's like, God, if you give me another chance, I'll come back and do it right.
What other chance? Oh, like
Like, yeah,
when you
yeah,
said you were just gonna live your life.
yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
think that also ties in a little bit because when I think about it, it was like that second chance was the first chance was
You can live your
you
life
live the
however
life,
you want.
but this is the outcome
Now
of it.
we okay.
Yeah, that was the outcome. You
Yeah.
didn't graduate. Of course, you had to go deep into the spiritual realm to see
Mhm.
why it has a lot to do with like family generation.
Mhm.
But also, it doesn't matter how much you prayed about that. If you're living outside of my word, life will keep getting harder.
Mhm.
So that was the second chance of the awareness of, sis, what you doing?
Mhm.
You're making life hard.
And like when we surrender to God, it's not that we're not gonna have hard times.
Mm-hmm.
It's that we will be able to cope better. So there's going to be hard times, but you will never feel alone. You will never feel like you're well. There's gonna be time where you do feel like you're suffocating, but
Mm-hmm.
you never get to the point where you feel like there's nothing else you can do. Of course, there's nothing else you can do, but there's always someone you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
and that's God. And that's the beauty of surrendering, the beauty of really giving your life to God,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, giving giving yourself to learning about God for yourself, not just what people told you, not just, the stories that you've heard, but really seeking to see God for yourself, and to touch him, and to discover how he speaks to you, and to implement his words into your own life. And because it's very hard to live according to God's principles, there's Jesus to help us.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to always go and say, listen, I know you want me to do this and that and the other thing, but I really need your help. And I can't do it all by myself. And I really, really need your help. And to know that there's always someone that you can go to talk about those things is so great.
It really is.
It's so great. Like, even when I think about me moving from Kinshasa to the U.S., I left the country to come to another. Okay, I had to learn a completely different language, and like my first night here, I couldn't even understand what people were saying. It was
Mm-hmm.
just so overwhelming, but it really brought me closer to God. Right? It's like, what am I even gonna do here? Like, am I supposed to talk to a teacher? How I'm gonna ask questions when I don't understand something? Well, I'm done for, because how am I gonna explain what I don't know? I don't have um I don't have control of the language at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that also just brought me closer to God, because I realized I can't call my dad and get him to help me. He's not gonna help me. He wants to. He just can't. But what is he gonna do? Right? He's like miles and miles away from me. And so I just had to learn to trust God, and I had to learn to pray, and I had to learn to read my Bible and try to hear his voice and let him lead me. But there's so much power in that, because now I feel that there's no situation that you can place me in that I'm not going to be able to get through,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a foundation, and my foundation is Christ. Yeah, I'm gonna stumble. It's gonna be hard. Sometimes I do forget to go back and pray about things, but thank God for the Holy Spirit. He reminds me. He's like, "Girl, go pray. Why are you over here stressing? You're stressing for what? Because you can stress all you want. You're not gonna find solutions. Go pray."
I'm always reminded, like we always try to find like 5, 6, 7 testimonies to be like, God will work. But that one testimony for me, that one journey brought me back to, why are you afraid of the future when I proved my strength? I proved
Amen.
myself. But regardless of what the outside noise is, just trust me with your future, because I've proved myself. You don't need 6 or 7 testimonies for me to be like, God is able, you know?
Yeah, that one thing. Hold on to it. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Come on,
All
somebody. Come on, somebody.
right.
Thank you so much for tuning in on Agreed to Disagree podcast. This conversation was deep.
For us,
Deep.
it
I
was.
try not to cry.
We learned a
but
lot.
did.
I didn't cry. I didn't. You're telling me this time.
Really, because I didn't
No
go all
crying,
the way
baby.
in depth, you know.
Don't
Maybe you're just
cry.
like...
No, I think maybe because I'm like contributing, so
Yeah.
I'm not crying. But when I'm just listening to you, I was I don't know why I cry, but okay, well, I still cry.
But if this conversation resonated with you, or you felt touched, you know, encouraged, let us know in the comment section below. We would love to hear. And
Your thoughts. Are you yourself going through something? If you feel you can share, do share. We're trying to build a community of like-minded people who are going through struggles but have God to see them through them. So let's talk in the comments. Let's share even more.
we will see you in the next one.
Peace.
Bye.